بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us the opportunity to come to His house. We ask Allah to accept our ibadah. We ask the Almighty Allah to forgive our shortcomings. We ask Allah to grant us the khair of this day. And we ask Allah to protect us from all types of evil. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the best day amongst the week is the day of Jummah. And this day holds a lot of virtue for the believers. To begin with, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam describes the person who will be entitled for the forgiveness of Allah Azza wa Jal, not only for the day of Jum'ah, but for the entire week. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man ghassala aw ightasala. The person who makes ghusl on the day of Jum'ah. So that's the first act that has been recommended by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is to do ghusl. Now what is ghusl? Ghusl is an act which has been given for the believers to purify themselves from the major impurity. If a person does not perform ghusl and he is in a stage of major impurity, then all the worship that he is performing will not be accepted in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are three obligatory acts which are with this act of ghusl. Number one is, after you have removed impurity, to rinse your mouth and to gargle where the water reaches your throat, and then you spit that water out. Number two is to sniff water into your nose and clean your nostrils. And number three is to put water over your entire body to an extent where not even a single amount of the body is left dry. Now, if you have not done these three acts and you have the best soap and you have the best material out there that you have used to purify and to, beautify yourself with, but the act of ghusl has not been done. So this is why ghusl is a very important factor for a person, especially it is a sunnah act of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to perform ghusl on the day of Jum'ah. And the day of Jum'ah, it's been recommended to have a ghusl and to pray your salatul Jum'ah with the same wudu that you have performed at the time of doing your ghusl. That is the most recommended and the most virtuous act. However, for any reason, a person is not able to do that, but if he had performed ghusl throughout the entire day of the day of Jumu'ah, then that will suffice for the act of sunnah. So let's say you did do ghusl in the morning, and then later on you had to break your wudu was broken, and then before Jum'ah Salah you did your wudu. Still, the fuqaha mentioned that can be a part of the ghusl of the day of Jum'ah. However, if a person has the ability and he has the capability to do ghusl right before Salatul Jum'ah and to pray Salatul Jum'ah with the same wudu that he has done ghusl with, that is recommended and that is more virtuous. Now, what is the sunnah method of doing ghusl? When you are doing your ghusl, the first thing is about your intention. That I am making an intention to purify myself from major impurity. And if there isn't any major impurity, just to have the intention of purification. Remember, the act of ghusl, either you have major impurity or not major impurity, this act of ghusl will still stay the same. So even if you're not in the stage of major impurity, still you can follow the same procedure. So the first thing is that a person should have the intention of purifying himself. And if you're doing ghusl on the day of Jum'ah, have the intention of fulfilling the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? And this ghusl of yours will become a source of ibadah. The whole time that you spend in taking that bath, taking that ghusl, it will be counted as a ibadah. Why? Because you have made the intention that I want to fulfill and I want to practice the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 2 is not to uncover yourself well in advance, right? A lot of people have the habit of walking around without clothing. You know, going into the toilet area, going into the closet, going into this area, that area. No. You keep your satr, you keep your aura covered throughout the entire time until you get to a point where you're going to start making that ghusl. So keep your body covered as much as possible. Why? Because when your body is uncovered, then the angels depart. The angels don't come near the person who has his aura open. And that's why a lot of people don't understand. They have their aura open throughout the day. They're walking around, especially in the summer, as we see other people having the least amount of clothes on their body, right? We start to follow the same trend. We follow the same pattern, right? And then we start wearing shorts which are not covering our aura. The aura for the male is from their navel up to their knees, including knees or excluding knees, على اختلاف الأقوال بين مالك وأبو حنيفة رحمه الله. But including knees is more better than excluding the knees. But that's what the aura is. Now, if this area is not covered at any given time, then the angels don't come near you. Then, of course, if you don't have angels, then you have the other guy, right? You have shaitan with you. So you're walking in the mall, you're walking in the park, you're walking in anywhere else, and that buddy of yours is walking with you wherever you're going. So it is your choice. Either you keep the angels with you by covering your aura at all time, or your choice to keep shaitan with you by exposing your aura at all time. So that aura should be covered until you get to the part where you're going to start taking bath. So then, after that, the first thing you do is start with impurity. Any impurity in the body, remove it, right? And for that, it is recommended that you use the bathroom and do istinja before you go onto the part of doing ghusl. So use the bathroom, do istinja. After that, you get to the ghusl part. And before you start your ghusl, you start with wudu. Before you start your ghusl, you start with wudu. Same wudu that we do for our salah, we should do. This is the sunnah method of doing ghusl. And after you have done your wudu, then you start with washing your right part of the body first. If you're taking a shower, you're underneath the shower, then you move in a certain way that the right side becomes wet first, and then the middle side will become wet the second, and then the left side will become wet. And then after that, once you have rinsed your body, then you can use soap, you can use whatever you would like. And then after that, rinse the body the third time. And as soon as you have taken the ghusl, you should try to cover your aura immediately, because you want to be in the company of the angels. This is a brief method of performing ghusl. This is the first act that is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that if you want to be forgiven on this blessed day of Jummah, start your day of Jummah with ghusl. So inshallah, as we learn the procedure, it is also recommended we should apply it in our life. And action is the one that makes a difference in the life of a believer. We ask Allah to grant us the understanding, and we ask Allah to grant us the ability to practice. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka.